Does the NWO want our wealth? September 5, 2015. While we may enjoy temporary prosperity, history suggests our Masonic Jewish masters still plan to confiscate our wealth. The possessions of the Goyim are like an ownerless desert, and every Jew, who seizes it, has acquired it. Babylonian Talmud, 4/3/54b. From April 8, 2008. By Henry Makow, Ph.D. In 1869, Jacob Brathman, a Jewish convert to Christianity, published a book in Russian about the Jewish communal organization, the Kahal, which suggests that, unknown to many Jews and non-Jews, organized Jewry indeed was conspiring against the Gentile population. Like most books of this kind, it is no longer available. Luckily, in November 1881, Madame Z.A. Rogozin published a thorough account of it in the Century magazine, Volume 23, Issue I, under the title Russian Jews and Gentiles. From a Russian point of view, this remarkable essay is online. Rogozin was a scholar of ancient Near Eastern history who, in the 1880s, published a half-dozen books on the Chaldeans, Persians, Assyrians, etc. The Kahal. Brathman's book was based on 1,000 internal documents of the Kahal. Its most startling revelation. The Kahal followed the Talmudic prescription that Gentile property is a free-for-all for Jews who, for a fee, are pre-authorized by the town council, the Kahal, to finagle it. Obviously a source of anti-Semitism, this may explain the true predatory nature of communism, and the New World Order, behind the idealistic-sounding window dressing. For example, Brathman, whom Jewish historians refer to an informer, explains Jew X buys the rights to Gentile Y's house. He has acquired Kezaka I.E. right of ownership over the house of Gentile Y, in force thereof he is given the exclusive right, guaranteed from interference or competition from other Jews, to get possession of the said house ... by any means whatever. Until he has finally succeeded in transferring it to his official possession, he alone is entitled to rent that house from its present owner, to trade in it, to lend money to the owner or to other Gentiles who may dwell in it to make profits out of them in any way, that, his ingenuity may suggest. The second part may provide a model of how Gentiles were exploited by a Jew. According to Brathman, the documents show as clearly as possible in what way and by what means the Jews, notwithstanding their limited rights, have always succeeded in driving alien elements from the towns and boroughs where they have settled, to get into their hands the capital and immovable property in those places, and to get rid of all competition in commerce and trades, as has been the case in the western provinces of Russia, in Poland, Galicia, Romania. Selling alcohol and money lending were ways to finagle property. The Jewish vodka dealers would show up at harvest time and sell alcohol to farmers on credit. Before long the drinking habits of the peasants and compound interest combined to transfer the property in future harvests into the vodka dealers' hands. C. E. Michael Jones, Russian Roulette Culture Wars, May 2006, p. 24. A revolutionary way of stealing. 50 years after the Kahal was published, Christian civilization in Russia was brutally destroyed by the Bolshevik Revolution, which was a front for the Illuminati Jewish bankers. The salient aspects of this revolution, apart from the imposition of a ghastly and depraved police state, was the confiscation of untold Gentile wealth and the slaughter of millions of non-Jews. This Holocaust gets little notice because Illuminati Jews control the mass media and education system using self-righteous and highly paid dupes of the neocon, liberal, feminist, socialist and Marxist stripe to enforce an intellectual tyranny. The Rothschild front Kuhn Loeb and Company got a handsome return on their $20 million financing of the 1917 revolution. In 1921 Lenin gave them $102 million. New York Times August 23, 1921, as well, they may have kept wealth and bank accounts the Tsar Romanovs foolishly entrusted to them. In addition, Illuminati Jewish bankers took ownership of Russian industry. German Secret Service documents instructed the Bolsheviks to destroy the Russian capitalists as far as you please, but it would by no means be possible to permit the destruction of Russian enterprises. The German Imperial Bank sent the Bolsheviks in excess of 60 million rubles. In this context, A. Enfield cites documents 10 and 11 between the bankers and the Bolsheviks. They give a complete synopsis of the terms on which the German banks after the war were to control Russian industry. The Truth About the Slump, 1931, by A. Enfield. pp. 62-72. The Red Terror. Lenin and Trotsky created the infamous Secret Service Cheka, later renamed OGPU, then NKVD and finally KGB, to steal property and crush resistance. The first Cheka units set up in every city or town were engaged first and foremost in the extermination of Tsarist bureaucrats, gendarmes and high-ranking officers, the families of White Guards and all citizens whose property was valued at 10,000 rubles or more. There were thousands of scientists and engineers who were killed as exploiters, and about half the country's doctors were either killed or forced to emigrate. People were murdered at home, in the streets, and in the cellars of Cheka headquarters irrespective of their age. Slavic idiots, loyal comrades, ruthless killers. The Secret Services of the USSR 1917–1991 p. 14. Thousands of Christian priests and monks were sent to the Gulag and slaughtered. The church became the target of Bolshevik hostility from the very beginning. Resistance to the confiscation of church properties, especially silver and gold items, was especially fierce. Now priests called on their parishes to resist confiscation, accusing the authorities of pocketing most of the proceeds. Kudamits, p. 25. It is estimated that the Cheka was responsible for at least 20 million deaths, according to courageous Jewish writer Steve Plocker, who says the Cheka was led and staffed mainly by Jews. The Cheka was empowered by Lenin and Trotsky, who were Illuminati Jews and financed by Illuminati Jewish bankers. Many Jews sold their soul to the devil of the communist revolution and have blood on their hands for eternity, Plocker writes. We mustn't forget that some of the greatest murderers of modern times were Jews. Two kinds of Jews. In Russian Jews and Gentiles, Madame Rogozin writes. There have of old been Jews of two descriptions, so different as to be like two different races. There were Jews who saw God and proclaimed his law, and those who worshipped the golden calf and yearned for the flesh pots of Egypt. There were Jews who followed Jesus and those who crucified him. 909. Left, communists massacred priests and confiscated church property during the Spanish Civil War. Not to excuse the murderers, many rank-and-file Jewish and non-Jewish communists truly were duped into thinking communism represented poor workers, the sharing of wealth and social justice. Much like today, Illuminati Jews had brainwashed the flock. However, other Jews did see through the deception and heroically fought against communism. The Illuminati puppet masters work arm's length in order to maintain the illusion that history is unfolding in a random fashion. Thus at various times, Stalin did rebel against his handlers and did persecute their Jewish agents. Many believe Stalin was ultimately murdered when he attempted a final crackdown. There are definitely Jews who are part of the Illuminati and those who are not. Of course the former routinely prey on the latter. Bob Chapman recently described how this played out in the sale of Jewish investment banker Bear Stearns. Note how Lehman Brothers has been able to raise $4 billion in capital and to take advantage of the term securities auction facility and the primary dealer's credit facility initiated by the Fed to keep it from going under. Bear was never given these opportunities even though financially it was much stronger than Lehman Brothers. Why, we ask? Was there a run on Bear Stearns' assets but not on those of the much weaker Lehman Brothers? We'll tell you why. Bear, as a non-insider thorn in the Illuminist side, was forced out and cannibalized by its peers before it had a chance to recover. This is how insiders are allowed to survive and non-insiders are raped and wiped out or merged. The mirror reverse image of the Red Terror was the Nazi persecution of the Jews and confiscation of select Jewish property in the 1930s. I suspect the Illuminati Jewish bankers were responsible for the rise of the Nazis and benefited by expropriating the wealth of their Jewish competitors. The big German bankers were very involved in the Aryanization of Jewish property. Conclusion. Since the English Revolution, History reflects the gradual process by which mainly Jewish finance and its satanic Gentile allies have used Freemasonry, revolution and war to overthrow Christian civilization and replace it with their economic, social, political and cultural hegemony, that is the New World Order. I doubt if Illuminati Jewish bankers have a monopoly on avarice, but they certainly have been its best exponents. Haven't they converted most of us? I suspect the Talmudic spirit, a chosen people, monopolize wealth at the expense of the vast majority who are considered animals, inspired imperialism and still motivates the Illuminati today. As I have said, the Illuminati Jewish bankers use Jews as pawns and agents. Their partners are Satanists from all ethnic backgrounds who also subvert and betray their own people. Their plan is to disinherit and domesticate, educate, social engineer, brainwash, the human race to their purpose. They are behind 9/11, the War on Terror and the Iraq War. They are behind hate laws, feminism, multiculturalism, and diversity. All this is mind control and social engineering. Ever hear multiculturalism foisted on Israel or China? A cancer is destroying Western civilization. That cancer is the Illuminati Jewish central bankers who control our economic, political, cultural and spiritual institutions. In other words, our leadership represents an occult imperial power at war with us, and we can't even recognize it because our institutions have been subverted. America today can be compared to Russia before the revolution. According to W. Shulgin, the brain of the nation was in Illuminati Jewish hands. And it became business as usual to think in Jewish categories. In spite of all the restrictions, the Jews controlled the mind of the Russian people. Jones, Culture Wars, p. 42. Of course, the Illuminati control the Jewish mind. A real Jew, and Christian and Muslim, stands for God and a universal moral order. Thus, world government can never be good for the Jews no matter what elite status they enjoy. Secular humanism cannot replace God. It is a foil for a demented satanic agenda and for more of the bestiality that characterizes the past. Individual Jews will have to decide which kind of Jew they are. www.savethmales.ca web link. See also My Imperialism of Jewish Capital. And Rothschild's Conduct Red Symphony. Kevin MacDonald Stalin's Willing Executioners. E. Michael Jones The Revolutionary Jew. First comment from Al. Communist Jews are primarily responsible for all of the mayhem in the world. But the dumb Gentiles, Goyim, Freemasons, go along with it. Why? Because they want to partake in the booty that communism provides by stealing from the poor and the middle class. The Communist Manifesto was put together by Marx and Engels, who were Talmudic Jews. I'm not sure how deep this goes, but I suspect that most of the world's religions go along with it. The main objective of communism is conquest and confiscation, and this is what we see from the communist government. Most governments of the world are communist, as they have most, if not all, of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto in place. This cannot be denied, and there is no argument about it. Most governments of the world break every one of God's commandments just by their existence. This will always produce a bad result, and we see plenty of bad results today. Anyone who works or is a part of the government is a jerk. There are 2 kinds of government operatives: 1. Assholes, and 2. Assholes in training. Given what we have all seen in the last few years, how could anyone with any morals work for the government knowing the information that is available to us? Remember, communism also includes liberalism, conservatism, fascism, and socialism. I included conservatism because they still tolerate communism as a structural part of the government. Voting just gives the evil the look of authority when it has none. With a monopoly on the use of violence, communists will continue to confiscate until the last piece of flesh is picked off of the last producer. Veritumgovernment.blogspot.com web link.